Okay, good morning everyone and welcome. Welcome to the final module of the 6-week business mastery program. And we pretty much got there, guys. And again, I say this every week, and Sahil says it every week. And again, I just want to extend a really big congratulations to you guys. There's been a number of you that have really gone above and beyond and been so good with your marketing, with your contacting us, with your getting all these kinds of marketing ideas going, with implementing stuff, getting your lead pages done and everything like that. So just again, you've just really superseded our expectations. A number of you have, and we are really proud of you guys. And we can see that you're going to go really far because you're putting in the effort. So this is the final one, public speaking. Now, when I say this is the final webinar, this is by no means our final contact with you, because don't forget, we've got your back on this. So keep posting on the Facebook page. We'll keep communicating through emails, phone if you like. Like I said, we're just here to help you try and achieve, your dreams and your business. So we love doing this. So it doesn't stop here, guys. But now we're pretty much 2 hours short of you being able to go have all the tools you need to go and spruik yourself to your target market. And this is one of my absolute favorite topics, because it's it's a personal story for Sahil and I as well, about how we were so scared of public speaking. And we know it's just such a good tool to get what you want and promote your business. So we've told you how to do headlines. We've told you how to get your mindset right. We've told you how to identify your target market, to create your lead pages and get all these prospects. So now's the time to go and shout it from any platform you can publicly to tell your target market that you are the practitioner for them and you are the one to provide the best solution to their problem. Remember, that's the main theme that we've been talking about, not only in this 6 weeks, but in Turbochargers, that solution-based marketing. So how can you go out there and talk to the public face-to-face and get bookings immediately? And don't forget, this is what this is all about. There's good public speaking gigs you can do for awareness, but really the whole point of this is to get loads of bookings straight away. I always say, look, in my opinion, besides the lead pages stuff and things like that, there's really no better way that you can spend less money and get more patients. You can spend $50 on a public speaking talk with some brochures and cards and things like that, and you can get 20 or 30 new bookings on that day right after the talk. Just depends on how good your call to action is. So we're going to talk about that too today and go into that. So sit back and enjoy, guys. Now, this is the thing. I mean, I'd bet for some of you, just even the title of this this webinar brings back some pretty uncomfortable memories, or memories of public speaking, and maybe some sweaty palms or red faces or quivering of the voice. And again, I can relate to that because I was there as well. But speaking engagement, guys, especially from the health practitioners, all these live events or retirement villages or sports clubs, or even in-house in your practice to reactivate inactive clients. There's so many platforms you can use, but it is such a good way to promote your practice, to attract new patients, to reactivate old clients, to build awareness in your marketplace. So it really makes sense to be able to do it properly. And this is the problem. Most of us live with this fear of public speaking. It's the #1 fear in the world, and we live with that our entire life. And this is the problem. So we live with this, and it's in our psyche, in our subconscious, that we hate public speaking, or we're not good public speakers, or we weren't born to be a public speaker, or that kind of thing. So as a result, it starts turning things like, your mate invites you to their 21st or 30th or 40th or 50th or wedding or whatever it is. And then you're asked to do a speech. Okay, or maybe in the lead up a few months earlier, oh mate, I'd really like you to do a speech at my wedding. I want you to be best man, maid of honor, whatever it is. And the problem is, so now this is your fear of public speaking is going to turn this, generally it should be a happy event, but it's going to turn it into this stomach churning ball of stress for you, even in months leading up to it. So it's this sort of constant cloud, doesn't do your body any good, obviously. So it turns all these fun events into these stressful ones, and you can't enjoy them if you're asked to do a speech. This is the thing, guys, that the promising is anyone can be a good public speaker. You've just got to, learn the techniques. And this is what we're going to talk about. It's not an inherited skill, it's an acquired one to be a public speaker. Like anything else, if you study the techniques, you're going to learn about it. really crippled at the thought of public speaking, to getting awards for public speaking as well. And believe me, if I can do it, you can do it too. I am actually so passionate about this topic, about helping practitioners publicly speak to promote their practice. I actually wrote a book about it, which you can see there. It's called Shudder at the Thought of Public Speaking to Promote Your Health Practice. Well, here's how to give a killer presentation with confidence. So this is an ebook. It's I think about a 25-page ebook, just with some 7 really good tips for public speaking. Happy to forward that on to you if you're interested in having a copy. Like I said, this webinar though, this is going to be this book basically turbocharged. So we've got 2 hours on this stuff, but that's how passionate about it I am, because I know how fear of public speaking can affect people's life, practitioners' life, anyone's life basically. And I also know and how they miss out on opportunities, how it makes everything so stressful. But I also know how fantastic it can be when you actually start doing this, and the number of clients you'll get, the more you'll enjoy doing functions and things like that. Yeah, so I wrote this book. Now, this is the thing, and like I said, it's an acquired skill. It's an acquired skill. It's a learned skill. So just like anything you do, whether you study acupuncture, naturopathy, and naturopathy, physio, if you want to be a good practitioner, you have to learn your craft. You've got to study the techniques of what makes a good practitioner. Diagnosis has to be spot on. If you want to study how to make money, how to be wealthy, well, you've got to study wealth, don't you? You've got to study how to earn money, how to manage that money, how to invest it. If you want to be good at anything, remember 10,000 hours to become an expert. That's the rule. So if you want to be good at anything, you have to spend 10,000 hours doing it, practicing it, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to be good at public speaking, you've got to study and you've got to rehearse the techniques of a good public speaker. Now, this is what we're going to be doing with you today. So we're going to give you pretty much all the tools that you need and help you with your confidence level of public speaking. So I know a number of you on this webinar today, you're already decent public speakers. I know when in Turbocharge Your Practice, when I asked you who's feels like they've got no problem with public speaking, a number of you put up your hand, which is absolutely fantastic. But a number of you wanted to run away, and so it's going to be beneficial for both groups of people, because the ones that already don't mind about public speaking, we're going to give some really good tools and techniques to really ramp that up. For the people that are really scared of public speaking, you're going to get the tools to build your confidence and then to be really good at it. One of the attendees for our mentorship program 2 years ago, he was the same. He was really, really scared of public speaking. After doing this module, he set up his first public speaking gig, and he's been doing them ever since, and he's been loving them. And his practice, of course, has just, snowballed out of control. He's taken on staff and that kind of thing, all because he gave himself permission to be a good public speaker. He studied the techniques. He booked his gigs and he did really well at it as well. So this is the problem though. We unfairly put pressure on ourselves, and we either assume we have what it takes to be a public speaker or we don't. People say, oh, that person's lucky. You're lucky. You're a good public speaker. Well, luck doesn't really have anything to do with it. But so we got to get out of that mindset of you're either a good public speaker or you don't. Public speaking skills are so necessary for all of us. Okay, but this is the problem again. It's like when we talk about doing the business stuff, the learning about business, there's no formal education in schools about public speaking. And this is where a lot of the fear comes. It would be fantastic if they did a subject at school, like a Toastmasters type thing on how to be actually good at public speaking, just like they should do it at business, or definitely at uni when you're doing your course, because one of the big things about your course is being able to promote that as well. So that would be fantastic to see, but unfortunately there aren't. It's the number one fear, and there's no platform at school or at uni to learn how to be a good public speaker. So the fear of public speaking ranks as the number one fear in the world, more than death. And there's no formal education anywhere to help us tackle this number one fear, which is why I love this so much. There's obviously a massive gap between schools, unis, and the real world where no one is taught public speaking. So the problem is you're at school and your first experience for public speaking is when the teacher comes out just at random, goes, right, in grade 3, come and talk about this. and you don't know anything about the topic, and you go up to start talking and you're fumbling and bumbling and the class is laughing at you, why on earth would you ever want to do another one after that? You had no time to prepare for the topic. It wasn't a topic you were passionate about either. So we do put this pressure on ourselves, and most fear of public speaking, again, comes from bad experiences, public speaking. But of course, we're going to lack confidence in our teens and as an adult when we are put on the spot to giving a speech. And again, I use myself as an example. Sohail's the same, but really, I couldn't have imagined that I would be publicly speaking even 15, 16 years ago. I just couldn't have imagined it. And but I do, and I absolutely love it. And like I said, like I told you, it's become an absolute passion of mine. But like everyone, you know, when I started public speaking, I was crippled, literally nearly crippled with fear whenever I was placed in the public eye, and that was by absolute force, of course. And you know, whether I was doing a uni presentation, whether I was doing a speech at my friend's 21st, I play guitar too. Whether I had to play guitar in front of an audience, like in a band situation, which I did for a little bit, I was so scared because it was still a public performance. But I wasn't alone, because like I said, the fear of public speaking ranks as the #1 fear in the world. Okay, but guys, this is how much this fear is preventing you from being who you are, from achieving your potential peak patience in practice, from achieving your sole purpose in life to promote your practice, and just achieving your other dreams and goals and enjoying functions and things like that. So what I did, I finally thought, well, I need to get myself out of this this crippling thing, really, because it was just freezing in my mind. And I thought, I'm not going to really be able to do anything that I want if I don't get over this fear. I'm one for really liking to put myself in the deep end and being accountable and just, you know, give myself a sink or swim approach, with which I, you know, do quite a lot. Works out a lot. Sometimes it doesn't. But what I did is to get over my fear of public speaking, I applied for a job as a lecturer. So most of you would know me as a lecturer. I've taught a number of you before. But what you don't know, and what I'll share with you, is that when I got this job, I didn't actually, I thought, well, at least if I apply, that'll give me a little bit of confidence. And I didn't expect to get the job. And then on the train on the way home, they rang me up and said, yeah, you're in. And again, that it was exciting, but that wave of fear hit me on the train like a bolt. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't do this. So it was right out of my comfort zone. But I tell you, if I skip ahead a little bit, when it was the day for my first lecture, and I remember it was at 6 o'clock at night, a 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock lecture. So I was preparing the whole day, and I was frozen with fear. I'll admit that I really was frozen with fear. That the feeling of apprehension and fear that was going through me was absolutely amazing. And I just spent that whole day wishing something, like anything, had happened, so I didn't have to go in and do that 3-hour talk. It was a group of 30 students or so, my first lecture, first semester, first year, and I knew they'd be waiting for you know, really good information from me. So I was preparing, and of course I just didn't know that you had to learn. There were techniques you could learn to be a good public speaker. Like a lot of people, I just thought, well, I don't have it. Why did I do this? Why did I put myself in it? Is it too late to get out of it? And I remember just going down and walking down to the podium, and I was really scared, I'll admit that. And then when I got to the podium, a sort of a feeling hit me, and I just sort of calmed myself down. I said, look, all these people want to hear, all these guys want to hear is just some good information from me, just to teach them something new. And that's what I did. Look, truth be told, I didn't have, because I'd never, ever lectured before, never done too much public speaking. I really didn't have much material. So I actually ended up finishing about, probably about 40 minutes early. So that wasn't very good, but I got through it, and I corrected my mistakes for next time. And now, absolutely, as most of you would know, it's one of my favorite things in the world to do, to stand up in front of people and help them achieve their goals and achieve their dreams as well. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, guys, what we're going to discover and what you'll have at the end of the session today. We're going to look at how to actually organize a talk as well, what to put together. So you can't just walk on stage and start talking, but what to actually put together. What do you need? How do you contact the people to actually do a talk? Because you can't just go, right, I'm going to do public speaking to the bowling club this afternoon. and just go and rock up there. It doesn't really work like that. It's how to organize it, what things you have to keep in place, to put in place to organize a talk, how to overcome your fear of public speaking. So again, not all of you are fearful about public speaking, but I think, you know, a lot of people are, and even before presentation, I might get a little bit fearful. I take this as a good sign, and then I convert that to energy, which we'll show you how to do as well. But some techniques on how to overcome that fear and apprehension. What not to do. Now, this is important. There's a few sort of techniques that we'll go over what not to do that can really kill your presentation. So we'll go through those. Some secrets to a great introduction. So remember, I said the introduction is pretty much the most important thing of your talk, because that's what the first impression that people have with you. And that's how they're going to form that opinion of you, is whether you're going to be a good speaker or not, whether you're going to be able to provide a solution to their problem, and whether your information is going to be worthwhile and relevant to them as well. So look at some really good secrets to that, and how to, so not only a great introduction, but a really good conclusion as well. And that's going to include your call to action. So how to conclude with engagement, because I have been to talks before, and they've been decent talks, and then at the end, the person's just going, okay, well, that's the end of my talk now. Thanks for coming. There's no concept of recency, no finishing strong, no call to action, no follow-up, nothing like that. So how to conclude with engagement and make people really remember that the last thing you say that rings in their ears and makes them want to come and talk to you about booking an appointment as well. How to answer audience questions, because obviously when you do it, there's so many aspects to public speaking. And when you do a talk, obviously you're going to get questions at the end. And for some people, this is the thing that stresses them out the most, because you can prepare for a talk. You can have all the information, but then you might get a curveball question from someone. So how to prepare, we'll go through that, how to prepare to answer the audience questions as well. And we can really use these to advantage as well. The other good thing that I like to do, as you know, when I speak, is ask questions to the audience as well, because that's really engaging. It's a good way of qualifying your prospects as well for your service, which is what we'll talk about as well. How to carry yourself on stage. So again, yes, you can get up there with all the information, you can give a talk, but what kind of techniques in terms of voice tone, voice level, where to stand, how much to walk, how not to pace around too fast, the speed of your voice as well, you know, how to sort of carry that. So there's going to be a few techniques on that. So you can see it's the whole package today, guys, what we're going to talk about. So that's what we're going through today. And like I said, like it or not, you have to develop this skill for life. I believe that everyone should have classes on how to public speak. If you don't know how to do it, I recommend to people go to Toastmasters or come and do this webinar, speak to me, because this is what I love to do. And in some way I can help you be the best public speaker that you can be and achieve your goals and your dreams. Guarantee, guys, this skill is going to take your practice to a level you never thought possible. Because we can get, Sahal and I will do a talk to 50 people and we might get 20, 25 new bookings. Now you think of that, 25 new bookings using that technique that I told you about, gaining momentum. So seeing 25, you get 25 bookings and see them twice a week. That's 50 new consultations within the week for you, over and above what you're already doing. Now, obviously, if you're going to do that, you're going to need some staff. Okay, so even 10 new clients a week that you get, or 10 new clients from a public speaking talk, you'll get 10 people twice a week, 20 people. But don't forget, if you're talking to something like a retirement village or a childcare centre or a fertility clinic or a bowling club, you're not just going to go to one. There's probably going to be about 4 local bowling clubs in your area, or 3 or 4 childcare centres or whatever it is. So you're going to be going and doing the same talk to them, which means you may well be getting 5, 10, 20 new clients from each talk you do. So you can see, and on the spot, this is the whole point, getting them on the spot. So you can see how essential this is, and you can see how it'll just really, really change the way that you do things in your practice, okay? So this is the good news. You're not born with this skill. It's learned. No one is born to be a good public speaker. Even if you come from a family of public speakers, it doesn't mean that you're going to be good at it as well. The only difference is you come from a family of good public speakers, you're going to be learning the techniques really early, and you're going to be watching them early. But it's like anything. Learn how to do it. Take the steps. Put the hours into it. Practice, you know, in the car or something like that, talking in the shower, whatever you want to do. just practice these techniques. And it'll be so good for you, so good for your practice too. And this is my opinion too, is that everything that makes you a good public speaker, everything with effective public speaker, starts with you developing the belief that you can actually do it in your subconscious. And the belief that you know what you're talking about, because you're talking about a topic that you're passionate about. You're talking about a topic that you know about. And most importantly, you're talking about a topic that people really want to hear. Okay, you know that your skills in your practice, your acupuncture, naturopathy, your physio, you know your skills are going to help people. It's a system of proven techniques that work for helping people to provide solutions. So you have to show your target market that you're very competent and very skilled in your craft. But to do that, you've got to show them you're skilled at actually talking about it. Because if you get up on stage and you don't do a good speech, they're not going to form a very good opinion about your actual skills, are they? So there's sort of, there's a few things or a few concepts to know about the public speaking side of things. Now, this is the main thing, and this is one of the best reasons why you should get out there in your community and do talks, is because a health practitioner who stands in front of an audience is always in a position of authority. You are the go-to person, because if there's 8 practitioners that do the same thing as you in your suburb or your area, and you're the one that goes to 5 retirement villages, 5 bowling clubs, 3 cricket clubs, 2 basketball clubs, 3 childcare centres, whatever it is, who is your community going to see as the authority out of all the practitioners? It's not going to be the people that they haven't seen speak. It's not going to be the people they don't know of, or the people that put an ad in their school newsletter. It's going to be one that gets up in front of them and gets to know them and tells them how they can solve their problem. Okay, don't forget, your community's craving for your knowledge, and they're eager to hear your knowledge. And guess what? You're the best person to deliver it, because you're the one that knows the most about your niche, and you're the one that knows you can provide a solution to your target market. So if your presentation is relevant, if your presentation is entertaining, if your presentation is interesting, you're going to get people from it. You'll get really good responses. But if you have a really good call to action at the end of your presentation, it'll just go nuts. You'll get heaps and heaps of bookings. So like I said, we're going to talk about that as well. I want to go through with you the 3 scales of marketing, because like we said, this is how effective public speaking is. So there's 3 main scales of marketing in terms of communicating with people. The first one is one-to-one, and that's what we do all the time, isn't it? One-to-one marketing in our clinic. So we have a new patient in, and when that new patient comes in, we take that diagnosis, we look at the tongue, feel the pulse, and we tell them how we're going to provide a solution to their problem. So they've already booked in, but we're still promoting, we're still spruiking ourselves and our abilities to help them get their solution while they're in the clinic. But another example of one-to-one marketing would be something like, we talked last time when you reactivate patients, having like a freemium, we call it. So call them in for a 20-minute stress-busting acupuncture session with the intent of them making more bookings, or call them in for a free tongue and pulse diagnosis or something like that for them to come in. And again, hopefully while they're there over that 20 minutes, tongue and pulse, you can identify some of the problems they have, what it's preventing them from doing in life, and then pitch your solution to them. So that's one-to-one. And look, that's a nice form of intimate marketing. It certainly is, and it works very, very well. But you've got 20 minutes of your time. So in an hour, you can only market to 3 people, okay? And all of those people should come in. But what if one of them comes in? In 1 hour, you've got 1 person. So that's one-to-one. So it is a good form of marketing in the right platform, but it's not ideal in terms of really spreading your message to a lot of people. Okay, so free consult, diagnosis, those kind of things are sort of that one-to-one marketing. The second one is one to a few. So that could be something like talking in small groups and doing little activities, calling a few people in for, stretching sessions and these kinds of things. So you are doing better because you're marketing to a few people at the same time. So small group talks and those kind of things, which is good for a more intimate, like a clinic room, a clinic waiting room, if you can call a few people in. But I'm sure you'd agree with your clinic waiting rooms, you might only be able to fit a few people. Our clinic waiting room, it's a decent size. We can fit 20, 25 people in there, no worries. To me, that's a small group, and that's one to a few. But I want to spread my message, and Sahar wants to spread his message to a lot more people than 25 people at a time. We would like to spread our message to 500 to 1,000 people at a time, because if we can do that in that same hour, if we can help 500 or 1,000 people instead of one person or a few people, then we're spreading our message very quickly, and we're changing people's lives. So 1 to a few is good, but the best form and the public speaking forum is this one to many. This is the one that you want to be doing. And this is exactly what public speaking does. Because if you talk to a retirement village or something, or sports club, you might get 30, 40, 50 people in. And you're pitching your solution and your call to action to 50 people. So even if you get 10 people twice a week from that, that's 40 new consultations a week. And you'll be absolutely amazed at the response you get if you craft it properly. So just bear that in mind, okay? 1 to many that's the marketing that you want to do, okay? Because that's the one that will help you spread your message to as many people in the community in the smallest amount of time, okay? Really, really good stuff. So concentrate on that. We're going to talk about some techniques so you don't get nervous about that. So I know you're sort of saying, well, that's all well and good. Let's do 1 to many. Let's go out and start, trying to find out who I can talk to. But the problem is, like I said before, you just can't go out on stage, can you? And just walk into a club when people are having lunch and start talking. You've got to sort of before you talk, you've got to get in touch with someone that can actually organize that talk for you. So how do we actually get in front of our audience to do a really good speech? You've got to really sell yourself before you talk. Sell yourself before you sell yourself, really. So with all of these places, your retirement villages, your childcare centres, your fertility clinics, your gardening clubs, your basketball clubs, all those there's a target person, there's a decision maker. Sometimes we call them the gatekeeper, that has the gate shut, preventing you from getting to your target audience. So you have to win them over. You've got to make them really excited about what you do, because there's no point if you've got a solution for all the people at the retirement village with arthritis, but just say the manager of that retirement village is a 25-year-old person without any pain at all. Well, if you just have a flyer going, talk about arthritis or something like that, there's nothing in it for that person. So that's the tricky thing. Well, it's not that tricky after we go through it, but the challenge is trying to get past that person and making your presentation or your proposal to that person interesting enough so that they'll go, wow, I want this person to talk at this place. And we'll show you some things you can do to get them basically picking up the phone and calling you. So we've gone through the headlines and copywriting module, and I know you guys have been doing really well with that, because I've been seeing what you've been doing, what you've been sharing with me as well. So this is the key. That module was really the key to selling yourself before you actually talk. How to get in touch with that target person and the decision maker. So how do we sell ourselves before we talk? Well, you'd be able to answer that for me now probably as well, given we've done that headlines and copywriting module and things like that. But what you do need is some kind of package, some kind of proposal that they can open and they can look at and they can know about you, so that this person, this manager of whatever, or the bowling club or whatever it is, can feel like they know you, but most importantly, see that you can provide a good solution for their people. Because don't forget, if they organize your talk, if it's really, really good and you provide a good solution, then that person's also going to get credit, because people are going to come up to the manager and go, thanks so much for organizing that talk. That was fantastic. You're a great manager. But if you don't do a good job at your talk, then that's also going to reflect on them. Or if your bio is not good, if your proposal's not good, then it's going to go straight in the bin, or it's going to go to the bottom of the pile. So you need a package, or you need a proposal that's going to sell you before you actually speak. So how can you sell yourself to the manager, to the gatekeeper, so that they want you to talk to their people? They want you to talk to their office workers, their club members, okay? So what's in it for them? So some kind of bio. Now, you notice in the bottom corner, there's a package there, because by no means do you want to just, send a flat envelope because we talked about lumpy mail, and that's one of the best ways to get attention, isn't it? So something like a bio, something about yourself, photos, if you've done public speaking gigs before, photos of you public speaking, brochures, things like that, business cards. Photos, like I said, are really good because it gets them identifying with you. If they can see a photo, they already feel like they know you as well. So it's a very powerful thing. But you include a photo with a business card, with a brochure and a bio, but a personal letter with a really good catching headline. We've done all those. Remember, it could be a secret to headline. It could be, here's a method that's helping people, blah, blah, blah. Any of those kind of things, how to get rid of your arthritis, free talk or whatever, because most of these talks should be free, because that's what's going to get lots of people to them, and you're going to get appointments from it anyway. If you try and charge for your talks before they know what your solution is, you may not get too many people. So start with free talks. Once you get known in your community, you can start doing dedicated talks to those people and charge for them. Even for our reactivation talks, we do free talks, so because the whole purpose is to educate them, to keep them on your list, to keep them seeing you as the go-to person. So to me, that's worth more having them come in for free for some nice information, rather than sending out a flyer saying, oh, $20 talk, and they go, well, look, I'm not going to pay that because I don't know what they're going to be talking about. Okay, so those kind of things. Now, other places you've talked, so to sell yourself, people like to know. Remember, it's like when we said that headline, that who else wants to do this? It means that other people have done it before. So if your bio has some photos or some information about other places you've talked, how it's gone, then they know you're not a pioneer. They know that, oh, you've talked in other places, so you've got some public speaking experience and you've done well out of it. Now, especially testimonials, this is one area where we can use testimonials. I know we absolutely can't have testimonials where we've gone, well, this person practitioner cured my arthritis or helped with my migraines or that kind of thing. But we can absolutely use testimonials according to how good we are at public speaking and how good our presentation was and how engaging it was. You'd know that every single seminar that Sahal and I do, at the end, we hand out feedback forms and then ask for testimonials, because firstly, we want that feedback of how we're going, but we also use that. There's that box at the bottom that all of you normally tick to say, look, I acknowledge this might be used for marketing purposes, because your fantastic feedback will help us spread our message further. And when we market to other people that we want to provide that solution to, they'll see that we've done it before and people have enjoyed it. So you can use those kind of testimonials and use them because they're really fantastic to do. Now, if you haven't done a public speaking gig before, then you can't use testimonials, but there's some other really good things you can do. Like I said, you can have some photos of yourself, some photos of you working on people, those kind of things. It's fairly easy to do. Again, it's pretty limited by your imagination, okay? But your initial proposal that you send to them, they have to catch that person's attention, the manager, the gatekeeper. And the whole purpose of this, if you want them basically picking up the phone to ring you, ideally, you don't want to have to follow them up, because people don't like being followed up. One of my sort of personal opinions on this is, if you have to follow someone up, we talked about a little bit about this last time. If you have to follow someone up in a few days to see if they got your information and they had read it, well, they obviously haven't read it. And the reason they probably haven't read it is that it wasn't engaging enough to them. So I've some of the public speaking gigs I've done. So Sahal and I did a real stint at retirement villages. We ran around to a number of retirement villages, and then we, given how well those talks went, we actually they wanted us to come there a day a week. So Sahal and I were going there half a day a week or a day a week, and just seeing people on site there because so many people wanted those services. But my point being, there was a couple that I did, one in particular where I did include all these things, and it obviously struck a good chord with the manager. I sent it out on a Tuesday. Wednesday afternoon, so she would have just got that. Wednesday afternoon, she rang me and she said, oh, hi, it's Di here from Burwood Terrace Retirement Village. She goes, look, and this is exactly what she said. She goes, I got your package and your proposal. Talk to me. Let's do this. That's what she said. She said, can you come down and have a chat because it looks really good. So that's what you want. if I had to follow her up in a few days and go, hi, Diane, did you get the package I sent? Oh, look, I haven't read it yet, blah, blah, blah. So you have to make it really, really enticing to them. And this is a little secret how to do it. You can see in the bottom right of your screen, you'll see a USB stick. Now, this is what we do a lot now, and it's so good because it's different. And on this USB stick, you can have as much information as you want. You can have videos of yourself doing talks. You can have videos of yourself doing treatments, all these kinds of things. You can have your brochures and that on that. So it's like it's a USB stick. So it's not all these papers like normal. It's a point of difference. So why not include one? You doing maybe a prior speaking engagement, but this will have maximum impact. Because think of someone like, I'll use the retirement village again, how much mail they get and how much boring mail they get and how much, just flat mail they get. So if you have a USB stick in the mail with a couple of other things, but it's maybe in a, and remember, Sahal's told you this, I've told you this, and we will never stop saying it. If you're sending something out to these people, always send it express post. It costs a bit more, but always send it express post, because what happens with express post, it gets straight to the top of the pile because they know it's something interesting and they know it's something urgent. So if you have an express post, believe me, don't worry about spending the extra money on the envelope, preferably like a padded envelope, because it does the thing that we need to do, which is build curiosity. Okay, so if they get all the, or sports club get all these boring mail and bills, and they get a yellow express post envelope that's just padded with a little lumpy thing in it, something for them, that's going to be open first. And then they open it and there's a USB stick and there's an accompanying letter with a really good headline, a really good what's in it for them, info about your talk, and an invitation to watch the USB. And then you can say on that, I'll give you a call in a couple of days to follow up and see what you thought, or see if we can arrange a mutually suitable time for me to come down and we can organize this talk. Now, like I said, generally they should be ringing you, and that's how you know you're on a winner. And if you get that once, if they ring you and say, yep, talk to me, how can we do this, come down, you can send that exact same thing out to all the other people. Just tailor it to them, because you know it's going to work. But it's a really good lumpy mail. Remember, lumpy mail costs more. Yeah, so a USB stick will cost you a few dollars. But let's put that in perspective. If you've got a couple of videos, and you might need a 1 or 2 gig stick. Who cares? What's a 1 or 2 gig stick? It's probably a few dollars plus the express post envelope. If we add this up, the express post envelope, the USB stick, the stamp, and then maybe all your materials for your talk, but even you're spending $5 to get an invitation to come and speak and talk, then you spend $50 on your talk. So you've spent $55 and maybe getting 20 new clients twice a week at $70 for that. So you can imagine that's phenomenal return on your investment, all for just having a little bit of creativity and going outside the norm with the lumpy mail. So I'd love to help you with that as well. Start thinking of some ideas of what you can do with your lumpy mail ideas, what you can put on the USB stick. Because again, I've mentioned a few things to you, but like the reactivation ideas, I know you guys have got some really cool suggestions that I'd love to hear as well. What can you put on that stick for them to pick up the phone and say that I really want you doing the talk? Okay, I know what you're saying. I'm a bit nervous to that. This is what I get when I talk to practitioners personally about doing this kind of stuff. I'm nervous. Well, I'll get excited about the USB stick, and then I'll be like, what if I get a call from them? What am I going to do? What am I going to say? How can I actually get up there? Because I was exactly the same as that. So they get nervous. So what I wanted to do is sort of try and debunk some of these nervous feelings and try and sort them out, and then we can, once we identify them, we can try and change them a little bit later. So let's think of some of the reasons for those of you that actually do get nervous doing a public speaking talk. What are the reasons why you get nervous? Just have a think, and these are some of the reasons that practitioners have told me over and over again why they get nervous. The first thing is you need to love what you do. Okay, because like I mentioned, if you're in a corporate environment, if you're at school, if you're at uni and you get called up to talk about a certain topic, it's normally not a topic you're going to enjoy, is it? Because it's something you're not passionate about. come and talk about, whatever it is, but it's something you're not prepared for. It's something you're not passionate about. Now, if I ask you to talk about something you love, so if I say, oh, Sahil, tell me about your nephew. How's he going? What's going on with him? Now, you'll get a smile from ear to ear. Your eyes will light up and you'll talk someone's ear. If I say, tell me about your new puppy, or you just started dating someone, how's your partner? How's your relationship going? You'll just smile, you'll sparkle, you'll blush, you'll start laughing, you start giggling, but you'll talk someone's ear off about it. Whatever's important to you. Tell me about your new car. How are your kids going? How's your practice going? Tell me about some of the really good results you've got, okay? So if you love what you do and if you're passionate about what you do, then that's going to get rid of nervousness really, really quickly. As soon as I started public speaking about stuff that I was passionate about, the nervousness started dissolving. And I'll give you an example. If you're passionate, it doesn't matter whether you're happy or angry or frustrated or upset. The nervousness disappears. So think of all these rallies. Like we might get people well, think of it like something like a tree logging rally, or a protest about things like that, logging trees and things like that. I've seen people that are so timid and shy that wouldn't do any public speaking. They're so introverted, but they're so passionate and they get so angry that they'll get up at that protest in front of thousands of people and they'll shout and they'll scream that. So the nervousness goes if you're passionate about it. So it's the same thing. If you love what you do, your passion will override your nervousness. So that's the first thing. So all you have to do is be passionate about what you do. And I know you guys are, because you're doing this right now. You are the guys the ones that committed to this program because you love what you do and you want to do more of it. So if you talk about what you love, if you're not passionate about it, don't talk about it, because it's not going to serve you properly. And your audience is going to see it in your face, in your eyes, and that kind of thing. So we'll have a look at why we actually get nervous. Well, the first one, this is a funny one actually, because the reason why a lot of practitioners get nervous is because they're actually fearful of looking nervous. So the reason they're fearful is that they don't want to look nervous up there on stage, which is sort of an interesting concept, isn't it? Like fear of looking nervous. So not fear of mucking up your stuff or forgetting your stuff and not being able to answer questions. They don't want to actually look nervous up on stage. So they say, I'll look scared. But this is the I suppose this is the thing. If you're in the audience and you're watching a speaker, so you're sitting in the audience and then someone comes up to do a public talk, and you see that they're really nervous and their voice is a bit shaky. I know I do this. What's the first thing you think? You're not going to think, oh, you're nervous. Gee, I hope you improve. You're going to have empathy for that person, aren't you? You're going to say, oh wow, poor person, poor speaker. I'd be so nervous about that too. I really applaud what you're doing, mate. You give them that energetic support. If anything, your audience is going to extend you sympathy. Because don't forget, they know if you look nervous up there, they know you're going out of your comfort zone. So your audience is always on your side. Remember, they're not there to judge you. They're there to hear good information. They have chosen to come to your talk. So they're on your side. They're going for you. It's in their interest for you to do a great presentation. They don't want to walk away saying, oh, well, look, it's a shame, but that person was really nervous and I didn't really get too much out of it. So you have to calm your nerves, and this is the way that you actually do that. When you get and what you'll find is that you can do this as soon as you walk out there, because obviously you're going to be nervous when you see all those people looking at you. We're going to talk about some more techniques about that too later. But one of the immediate things you can do to calm your nerves is to focus on your audience. Now remember, I said focus on your audience, because you might think, oh, I'm walking out there focusing on my audience. But if you feel nervous, you're focusing on yourself. So focus on your audience instead of yourself, okay? Because like I said, look, it's going to sound harsh. Believe it or not, your audience didn't come to see you personally. They came to see what you could do for them. Remember, every single thing you do in marketing has to say, what's in it for me? Remember W2FM. Everything you say in your talk has to be related to what's in it for them. What's in it? Because that's the question that they'll be thinking of when they're in the audience with you. What's in it for them? So change your focus to your audience. Okay, study some of the people in your audience. what I like to do, what I used to like to do when I was nervous of public speaking, is look at the audience. You know how in some audiences you'll just see naturally friendly faces, and some people will just start smiling at you because they're kind and they're supportive of you. And there's some people that also, there will be some people that sit there with their arms folded and go, okay, mate, let's see what you got to say. So what I suggest to you is focus on those people, pick up those people very quickly that you can, and focus on them for the first little bit, and they'll get your confidence up. When you start talking, believe me, as soon as you start talking the first 30 seconds, you'll start warming up, you'll start getting into it. And you won't be nervous anymore. And especially if you've got a really good introduction, you're going to win people over straight away. Even the people that are, waiting for you to say something, say something to dazzle me. And that's exactly what you're going to do, because this is what we're going to show you too, how to start with a really good introduction. So put your energy, instead of on you, put your energy into giving your audience the best presentation you can, not into being nervous inside you. And as you acclimate to the situation, as you acclimatize to that talk, you'll just feel this really nice, deep confidence sort of come up. So that's the first one, fear of looking nervous. So we can tell, I actually used this technique. It was sort of a subconscious one, but I remember I used to do this at uni when we had to do presentations, because of course I was very nervous then. But what I used to do is, because I was one of those things, I didn't want to look nervous. So I had that fear of looking nervous. So this is in like things like psychology class at uni, where I had to stand up and give a presentation, and I'd go up and my knees would be a little bit shaky, but my voice would be shaky. Now, this is the funny thing, because when I finished talking, I was so nervous, but everyone would go, oh, have you done this a lot before? Because you sound so confident up there. But that was my little trick. It was almost subconscious that when I started talking, my voice would be shaky because I would be nervous. So what I would do is actually talk louder, so it took the shakiness out of my voice. And that worked well, because when I talked louder, it made me seem more confident, even though I was really nervous inside. So you can use techniques like that. So the first one is fear of looking nervous. This is why we get nervous. The second one is, of course, that fear that people are judging you, or the concern that your audience are judging you. And you know what? Look, they are, unfortunately. They will judge you, and they'll judge you they'll judge you by the very first thing you say to them, and they'll judge you in the first 30 seconds of your talk. That's just the reality of it, guys. But having said that, don't think that they're judging you personally. Okay, they're judging more the information that's coming out of your mouth. But then they will start judging you as, are you the person that can help me or not? Do I have to keep looking? So the whole point is to make them stop looking straight away and know that you're the person. But it's going to sound harsh, but they don't care about you. They're in the audience to get something out of your talk. Okay, so your audience would really sincerely like this to be a valuable session for them. They would like their time to have been well spent. They don't want to take an hour out of their day. Just say it's a retirement village, an hour out of their day where they could go shopping or spend time with their grandkids, and waste it on a talk that's not good. So your audience is on your side. They will judge you, but they're still going for you, because they as well want to get something out of this talk, just like you want to get something out of this talk, which is firstly to spread your awareness as the go-to practitioner community, and to get bookings for it. That's the main thing that you're going to want from it. So that's the second thing, concern that others are judging you. Now, the third one's probably the most relevant one, and the one that brings up the most fear, which is dwelling on past failures. So just like public speaking, like I said, you're not born with it. It's a learned behavior. So just like the skill of public speaking is a learned behavior, well, public speaking anxiety is a learned behavior as well. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know many 2 or 3 year olds that are very shy and timid and scared of you take them to a restaurant, they'll go up to someone they don't even know and start doing a dance in front of them or start talking to them. Kids are really confident until something happens to not make them confident. And that's what I mean. Grade 2, grade 3, you start doing projects, and then depending on how supportive your teacher is and how nurturing your teacher is, they might get you to just come and go, right, Sahal, I want you to do a talk about whatever it is that you don't know and you don't care about, World War II, whatever it is that you don't know information in, or you've got 10 minutes to prepare, then I want you to come up. So you've got no information on the topic you're going to be talking about. You've got no experience with public speaking, and that'll show. And you know, in grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, and through high school, your audience isn't very accommodating. They'll find everything they can to pick on you and laugh at your stuff. So public speaking anxiety, that's my point. It's a learned behavior. Okay, so you might have failed at some point and it might have been an important event, a high profile speaking situation, and then that seed was planted in your subconscious, and we know how big your subconscious is. If your conscious tells your subconscious to do something, well, it probably won't. But if your subconscious tells your conscious to do something, so Hal and I have a really good example of your subconscious, and I love this example. We say, if you picture an elephant and then you picture a mosquito sitting on that elephant, relative size, the mosquito is your conscious mind, and the elephant is your subconscious mind. Relativity, that's how big your subconscious is. So if something, anxiety is in your subconscious, you can see how it will just flood you and prevent you from doing what you need to do. But think about, like, you know, when you did those past failures, think of what you were speaking about. Okay, it wasn't how you can help people get healed, which is what you love to do. It wasn't the solution you could provide to people's problems. It was that some random topic. This is why so many people that I see in corporate, they hate this, because I'll just say, right, in 5 minutes, we need you in the meeting room to do a presentation on this. And they get stressed, they get nervous, they don't like the topic, they don't like their job. So all of these seeds get planted. And then when they have to do a speech for something that actually counts, they keep replaying these videos in their head of their past failures, okay? So don't get in the habit of dwelling on past failures, because they were a totally different situation to this. Start with a clean slate, guys, okay? And start talking about only the things that you're passionate about. And believe me, it's going to just dissolve for you, because this is what you love. Like I said, you can't talk about anything you love without putting a big smile on your face and being really confident, okay? And grinning ear to ear. The fourth one, poor, insufficient preparation. So this can get people nervous. And like I said, look, if you ask me to do a 2-hour talk tomorrow on anything health related, TCM related, business related, I'd jump into it. I wouldn't sleep tonight because of the purpose. I'm looking so forward to it. Whereas a lot of people wouldn't sleep because they're nervous about it. If you got me to do a talk about farming or something like that, I'd be very nervous. I wouldn't be prepared. If you told me now, I'd probably spend the next, 15 hours trying to do as much research and preparation as I can. And this is my point. Poor, insufficient preparation is one of the main other reasons why people get nervous. But the problem with this is that it's purely us to blame if we're insufficiently prepared. Unless it was like, sure, if someone said, right, you've got to do a talk in 5 minutes, well, then you've got to put the best 5 minutes in you've ever put in to do your research. But there's no excuse for not being prepared. So nothing makes you more nervous than not being prepared or not having enough information. Nothing will undermine your public speaking confidence like being prepared. But nothing gives you more confidence than being ready and knowing your stuff. So go over it again and again. So if you organise a public talk for next week, you don't want to start going over it the night before. I'll give you an example of what I do. I was MC at one of my good friends' weddings, and it was a couple of months' notice and that kind of thing. But I'm one of those people that I just don't like to have notes when I talk. I like it all to sort of just come out from me. So I prepared my talk so many times a day. I'd read it. I'd record it onto my iPhone. When I was driving to the city to lecture, I'd have it on. I'd play it through my stereo. So all I was hearing was the talk I was going to do, the different sections I was going to do for MC, introducing the people. So I didn't have to pull out a bit of paper and read their names, the correct pronunciation of their names, the speeches I was going to do. By the time that wedding came, it was a second nature to me. I could just have done it in my sleep. But the point being, I was fully prepared for it. So like I said, nothing gives you more confidence than actually being ready. So they're the 4 reasons why people get nervous, and you can see how easy they are to actually just rectify. We'll talk about that a little bit more down the track. But let's get on to the actual speaking side of things. So this is going to get exciting now. This is the bit I really love doing. Before we get into how to get you being a good public speaker, we've got to eliminate some things of what not to do, because I've seen this too many times. And if you have these in your mind first, these are the things that will sort of, make people bomb a little bit with public speaking. Some of these you probably think, well, of course I'm not going to do that. Don't be silly. But the reality is people do it. So it is good to have it in your in your mind. Okay, the first thing is lateness. Do not be late. Now this is the problem, and I have been to public speaking talks where people have been late. I'm one of those people, as busy as I am, that I'll sit in the car for half an hour beforehand. I'll leave early. I'll sit in the car for half an hour beforehand and go through my notes before my talk. I mean, that's going to be one of the most effective things you can do. Can you imagine if you leave and there's a traffic jam and the last thing in your mind is that you're really stressed because you're trying to get, and you're walking all stressed and flustered and you've forgotten some of the stuff you're going to be talking about. So just, strike out another hour if you have to, or two. Cancel out your patience, because this is important. You're on show here. So don't be late. That's a given, obviously. Don't apologize for being late. Don't make up excuses as to why you're late, because I've had people come in and to do a public talk, and I've been sitting in the audience. And the first thing, remember I say the very first thing you say needs to be engaging and needs to make people put away their iPhones and iPads and stop checking their emails and texting people or looking up Facebook. So if the first thing you come out and go, oh, gee, sorry, guys, sorry, I'm late. Look, the traffic was so bad, or the weather was so bad. You're just casting blame, okay? Remember, you're in control. You have to be in control of everything that you're doing when you're publicly speaking. You've got to have that image of that you're all over the topic and all over the area that you want to cover. So if you're late to do a talk on your services, that's going to conduct that image that you're always going to be late anyway. So they might go, well, is he going to be running late for appointments? Is he always going to be apologizing or canceling my appointments? And again, they start to see the pattern. So don't apologize. Don't complain, because again, these are all things that I've picked up from people that start a speech. And the very first thing they say is, oh, geez, isn't the weather terrible today? So today's a good example in Melbourne. It's horrible and rainy and really cold. But that's not the kind of thing you want to start with. I mean, everyone knows it's rainy and cold. They didn't pay good money, or they didn't take time out of their day to hear you talk about how cold it is, because they know that. Start with something that they want to hear. Okay? Don't complain, especially don't complain about things that are in the room, like it's cold in the room or anything like that where you're publicly speaking, because that can be a bit offensive to the person that's organised it. Don't give excuses. And again, I get this from experience when I've been watching speeches. People might come in, oh, look, sorry if I look a bit tired. I was up all night with my kids last night. My kid was sick. Or, sorry, I'm not that well today, so just forgive me if I need to sit down or I need to. That's all well and good. But don't forget that you're doing this because you're pitching yourself as an authority in your area. Authorities aren't late. They don't complain. They don't make excuses. Yes, you might have been up all night with your kids, but you've just got to get through it for that hour, and you've got to get in with as much passion as you can. I think I mentioned in Turbocharge, I went to a business seminar. It was just 2 hours. It was run by the council, and it was at the local council. And the first thing the lady came up and said is, look, I'm really sorry. I'm a bit shaky. About 3 hours ago, I had to put my little pet dog down. And look, that's fair enough. She wanted to share that. And the whole speech, I was just there feeling so I didn't really concentrate on what she was saying, because I was just really hoping that she was okay, and I felt so sorry for her if I had to be in that position and that kind of thing. So it just, when you're up there, like you said, the authorities don't make excuses. They just put in the effort and they do what they have to do. They put in passion, and they give the best performance they can. Don't fumble, don't fidget. They're pretty obvious. We'll talk about some techniques towards the end on how to stand, how to walk, those kind of things. So again, this might seem quite obvious, but I think it's worth having it in your mind. Even the simple things you need to have in your mind. Okay, let's look at starting and ending your speech. And this is the bit I really love. Sorry, one more thing I'll tell you. This is a major one. I forgot about this point. Don't test the equipment after the talk starts. Okay, your PowerPoint, your computer, your audio visual, all that kind of thing. Make sure it works beforehand. Look, obviously things can happen. Equipment can fail. It's technology. It does. there's been a couple of times where you know the Wi-Fi when we've been doing presentations has cut out or something. Unfortunately, that's not something I can control, but I want to make sure it's working when I actually start the procedure or the talk. If you're using models and things, so if you're doing a demonstration of electroacupuncture after a really good talk and you're starting to demonstrate on someone, and then you turn your electroacupuncture unit on and the battery's flat, or your blood pressure unit's flat when you're doing a demonstration, yeah, that's not good. So don't test the equipment, the microphone, everything like that. Make sure it all works. Okay, so starting and ending your speech. So this is the guts of it, guys. This is the stuff that's really going to make your audience hooked. What about why? Why do you think you need to actually start and end your presentations really well? Well, there's two concepts, and I mentioned these to you when we did turbocharge your practice. And the two concepts are primacy and recency. Okay, now they're pretty obvious, but they're very, very, very important. The two concepts. So your primacy is your introduction, obviously, and the recency is your conclusion, and everything in the middle is your solution. So remember that structure when you're talking, but it's the same structure when you're writing an essay. You've got an introduction, you've got your main body, and you've got your conclusion. So I heard a lecturer put it really, really well when they were talking about the introduction, main body, and conclusion. So the introduction, they say, you tell them what you're going to tell them. And then the main body say, well, then you tell them. And the conclusion, you tell them what you've just told them. So you can see how it all sort of pieces together. So primacy, basically, the rule of primacy states that people will remember most vividly what they hear at the beginning of a speech. So think of all those famous speeches by presidents, celebrities, you know, I have a dream, all that kind of stuff. People remember the very first thing that people say, and that's what sticks in your mind. So you can see why your introduction, according to your niche, according to your target market, has to be absolutely spot on. So we'll talk about that. So that's primacy. The very first thing that you say, people are going to remember in your talk. The recency rule says that those same people will strongly recall what you say at the end. So the middle body isn't really as relevant. Yes, they're going to listen to that. That's where you can inspire them. But the introduction is where you shock them, where you make them sit bolt upright, where you grab their attention. Recency is what makes what you say last ring in their ears for the next couple of hours, that what you make them think about for the rest of the day. So you need to finish bold. You might need to finish strong or suddenly, but with a fact, with a bold statement that sort of makes them walk away. Or think of a movie, when you go and see a movie and the movie ends. And I've seen movies that have such a dramatic ending, or such a relevant ending, or such a shocking ending. I'm just sitting there in the cinema for a while just going, oh my gosh, I don't believe that just happened. So it's the same sort of thing with public speaking. Recency, give them something to remember so they strongly recall what you say at the end. And not only that, every single person they see that day or for the next couple of days, they will tell them about this fantastic talk they had from their local health practitioner. And that person may not require your services, but one of their family or their friends might. So it's really important that you get the right formula with that. So in terms of public speaking, your introduction and your conclusion, primacy and recency. Let's get into how you're going to introduce your talk. So some public speakers might get up and just introduce themselves first. So, and this is the thing, that's what the most common thing is. Hi, I'm Hamish Reid and I'm from Reid Health Integrative Medicine. Now, you've just done the main thing, which is the opposite of what you're meant to be doing. When we talked about headlines, remember, people have their name, they'd have Reid Health right up the top, and they'd have their big shiny logo at the top. So that's exactly the same in terms of your marketing and headlines. It's the same thing as you going up on stage going, hi everyone, my name's Hamish Reid from Reid Health Integrative Medicine. We do acupuncture, physio, chiro, blah, blah, blah. So you've just wasted your introduction, because people aren't really listening to you, or they're not sitting bolt upright. They're still texting. They're still on Facebook. Because remember, it's going to sound harsh, but no one cares who you are at that point. So if someone came to, they don't care who's giving the talk until the end, when you've told them that you're the person, or even your introduction where you've suddenly said to them subconsciously is that I'm the person for you. So if I'm doing a talk, if Sahal's doing a talk, or my dad could get up and do the same talk, even though he knows nothing about acupuncture, I could advertise a talk where Brian Reed, my father, is talking, and people will rock up to it because they don't care who's giving it. They're not going to say, oh, Hamish is talking, I'm going to come, because they don't know who I am. What they do care about is if my dad starts speaking in the first 5 minutes, they're going to know that he's not the person for them because he doesn't know anything about what we do. But if I talk after my introduction, they might say, well, this is the person that you need, okay, that we need. So your introduction needs to be engaging, and it needs to be interesting immediately. I can't stress that enough, without exception. So this is going to get you going out of your comfort zone. And the very first, because we're so used to in life, when we meet someone, hi, I'm Hamish Reed, nice to meet you. Or when we go and talk to someone we don't know, we'll talk about things like the weather. We'll talk about things like some of the things, the pictures around us. But the very first thing you normally say when you meet someone is your name. So that gets translated to our public speaking, but it's not the way to do it. Trust me. It's going to be a little bit confronting the first couple of times to start to walk out and just say something bold that doesn't include your name and your clinic address or things like that. But believe me, it works. It's really, really cool. So we're going to do some tailoring of these introductions to what you actually do. So this is the problem. Your audience will judge you. They're going to, the very first thing you say, as soon as you walk out there, they're going to judge you according to the way you look, whether your posture's good or whether you're slumped over, how you're dressed. Are you dressed professionally? Are you dressed like the kind of person that they want to see for a medical appointment? They'll judge you professionally. They'll judge the clinic you represent, and they'll judge your content. Now, they're going to judge all this all in the first 30 seconds of your presentation. I know I'm sort of painting a bit of a harsh picture, but once you learn how to give a really good introduction, it's not going to matter, because you'll get them smiling, nodding, clapping, laughing, whatever it is, okay? After they judge you, you're going to struggle to change their minds. Now, this works both ways. So if you get up and just do a really lame sort of introduction, you're not, your shoes are scuffed, you're not wearing, your shirt's creased, that kind of thing, they're going to judge you. And even if your content's good, it's going to be a little bit hard to change that first impression. Remember, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. But if you come out and have a really strong introduction and a really good way of being, a really good manner about you, they'll judge that. And even if you have a little hiccup in the middle, they're still going to judge you on that first 30 seconds. So they'll still see you as the authority, okay? But after that point, you're going to struggle to change their minds. But your opening is going to set the entire tone. I can't stress that enough. The very first thing you say, primacy, is going to set the entire tone of your presentation. So things like your voice, how loud it is, what the volume of your voice is, the tone of your voice, what your opening statement is. And again, your opening statement will tell them how good the content will be, and it'll tell them how relevant the information is going to be to them. It's going to tell them whether you're going to be interesting. Have they wasted their hour, or are they so glad they came? All in your first 30 seconds or in your opening statement. Okay, and it's going to most importantly tell them whether you will solve their frustration. And that's the thing that's going to get them making bookings, or telling their friends, or holding on to your business cards as well. Okay, so the first minute, that's when you introduce your message, and that's why when you tell the audience why they need to hear what you have to say. Remember, what's in it for me? That's all they care about. So after your opening statement is when you introduce yourself, because I obviously want to know who you are. Don't forget, they're going to know your name, because you would have put it out in your advertisement to the sports club, to the retirement village, whatever it is. They know who you are. You don't even have to say, I'm Hamish Reed, or you don't have to introduce yourself in the first little bit, because they know the name, because they've come to see you and they've seen a photo of you, because you're going to have that on your ad as well. So concentrate that prime time on telling them what's in it for them. That's the first and the only thing they want to hear, all the way through to the end. So remember, when we talk about headlines, every line is an ad for the next line, for the line below. And the person will stop reading anytime they feel bored or uninspired. Just like if every line, everything you say, the thing after it's not inspiring or doesn't hold them, They'll start checking their emails. They'll start checking Facebook. They'll start talking to the person next to them. I've seen that happen before as well. Okay, all the way through to the end. So let's have a look at a typical introduction. Okay, now this is an example for me. You can just insert your details. But think of this, and this is how I'll show you the impact of these introductions and how important the first thing is. So picture you're watching me. I'm doing a talk on arthritis, and I come out, and this is the first thing I say. Good morning, everyone. My name's Hamish Reed, and I'm from Reed Health Integrative Medicine. I'm here to talk to you today about how you can benefit from acupuncture treatment to help your arthritis. You may know that acupuncture has a 2,000-year-old written history, where in those times people noticed that when they had illness or certain areas on their body became tender, and by pressing into these areas, their symptoms disappeared. Now, yeah, that might hold some people's interest if they don't know anything about acupuncture, but it's very factual. It's very boring. All I'm doing is just introducing myself, and I'm saying, well, acupuncture is a 2,000-year-old written history, and then people started pressing in spots and blah, blah, blah. Have I presented any kind of solution to their problem? Have I given them a confidence boost as to why they're here at my talk? No, I haven't. And that's what you actually had to do. Okay. So in my opinion, I find that pretty boring. But think of what I just said. Now think of if I come out, if you're sitting in that same talk and I come out on stage and I say this is no introduction. This is the very first thing I say. I walk out on stage and I say this. Do any of you experience pain that's debilitating? Do you want to know how acupuncture can help you overcome it? So you can see that sort of little twist and that impact. Now, the first thing is I'm asking them two questions. The first one I was just talking about myself. There was no engagement. But now these are all, besides the first one, these are all headlines, introductions that I've used. So feel free to use these because I've put these up because they get really good engagement. So do any of you experience pain that's debilitating? So I'm asking a qualifying question. And when you ask a question, you're going to make them stop whatever they're doing and look at you because they're like, oh, is he talking to me? And they're going to answer that question, which is full engagement. So when I asked, the first thing I asked when I came out to this retirement village is, do any of you experience pain that's debilitating? And of course, you're going to get nods, and the more confident people in the group will go, oh, yes, that kind of thing. And that gives you confidence because they're engaging with you straight away. And then you say, do you want to know how acupuncture can help you overcome it? Okay, so again, they'll go, oh, yes, oh, God, yes, that kind of thing. So again, that's maximum engagement. And what you're doing at the very first level, in your very first line, is qualifying those people. So for those people that answer yes or put up their hand when you ask, do you want to know how acupuncture can help you overcome it? Then they're telling you, I'm interested not only in your talk, but I'm interested in your acupuncture treatment. So these are the people that may well be booking you. So that's going to give you confidence already knowing that people are going to really love to hear what you have to say, and you're going to get some potential clients, or at least you're going to get some people on your mailing list. Because remember, those people that don't book in for an appointment straight away, they must go on your mailing list. They have to get on your autoresponder, your GetResponse or your MailChimp or whatever it is. So then they start getting your emails full of content. Don't let anyone slip away without offering them something to get on your autoresponder, those people that don't book an appointment. So you can see the difference in those two introductions. Okay, a little bit less boring. Now, what about this? We're going to ramp it up a bit. And this is one I've used again, which has worked fantastic well. So think of the first introduction where I just talk about myself. Think of the second one where I've asked a couple of qualifying questions. Now, this is going a bit deeper. So again, you're sitting in the same audience, and I come out and I ask you this. How many of you have missed out on an important event, letting your spouse or children or grandchildren down because of chronic pain? How did it make you feel missing out on those events? Well, what if I were to share with you a way of never having that feeling again? Well, let me introduce you to the concept of preventative care. Yes, guys, this is acupuncture. Or yes, folks, this is acupuncture. So you see what I've done there, and I'm sure you'll agree that's a very powerful introduction because you're getting them on an emotional level. You're selling a feeling. Remember we talked about in turbochargers that's the main thing you have to do. Sell a feeling and build curiosity. So if we can just take that apart for a little bit, there's a number of questions focusing on the negative and the positive. And then in that whole introduction, in that first 15 seconds, I've identified a problem. I've got engagement. I've made them a promise that I'm going to share with them a way of never having that again. And I'm telling them what I'm actually, the solution, like preventative care and acupuncture. So you can see how powerful that is compared to, hi, I'm Hamish Reid. I'm going to talk to you about this or this or this. Okay. So I'm asking him, how many of you have missed an important event? So that's one thing, but that feeling, letting your spouse or children or grandchildren down. So what happens as soon as I ask that, most people are going to nod and most people will put up their hand to say, yes, I have done it. So there's that immediate engagement. Okay. And then I ask, and the more confident people as well go, yeah, I have. Yeah, absolutely. And then I say, how did it make you feel missing out on those events? Maximum engagement. And again, they're going to remember, you're selling that feeling. That time they had really bad back pain and they could in the winter and they couldn't get out of bed to see their grandson's school play, or they couldn't go watch their granddaughter play netball or whatever it is. They couldn't go to their gardening club or they couldn't go to a speech night, whatever it is. But when you ask them, how did it make you feel missing out on the events? They'd say, well, and that's engagement. I say, oh, it made me feel sad. It made me feel like I let my family down. It made me feel, angry at myself for not doing something about it earlier. But can you see the maximum engagement here? And then you're providing that solution. What if I were to share with you a way of never having that feeling again? Okay. Or it might be a harsh promise to say never having that feeling, but to really reduce that feeling. I feel that I can promise never having that feeling again because I feel that I can improve their condition enough, not 100%, but improve it enough to not have to stay home instead of go out, or at least give them some measurable advice or some good advice, putting the heat pack on beforehand so they don't actually have to miss out on their events. So what if I were to share with you a way of never having that feeling again? And then I'm just saying to them, right, I'm going to introduce you to the concept of preventative care. And then I'll say, yes, folks, this is acupuncture. Now, can I tell you, after I did this introduction, I got clapped. That was after the first 15 seconds of my talk. This was at a retirement village. But you can see, and that also gave me a lot of confidence, but that immediately let me know that these people were so engaged with what I was saying. So, and the fact that I actually got clapped after that introduction made me think that I've really spot on targeted what I need to be telling these people. Okay, so that's one example. Do you know what? Please use that. This is stuff I've used, which has really worked. So instead of chronic pain, you can say whatever niche that you want. Okay, so if you're talking to a football club, you can say, how many of you missed an important game, letting your team down because of hamstring strain? How did it make you feel being carried off the field? What if I were to share with you a way of never having that feeling again? Okay, so netball could be cruciate ligament. So how many of you, you get the picture. And again, it's just limited by your imagination. But please use that as a template because that one has worked so well. So another couple of examples for your introduction. You can start with a statement, okay, a statistic. So, and again, remember, this is the very first thing you say on stage. You don't introduce yourself. You don't say, hi, I'm Hamish Reid. Did you know that 7 out of 10 fertile? No, this has to be the first thing you say with impact because it's just got to be shocking to the audience. So you might be doing a talk to a fertility group. You specialize in fertility. So your first thing you say might be this. 7 out of 10 infertile couples have managed to conceive with the help of acupuncture. Well, today I'm going to tell you how. Now, I've got to say something there is that you need to put the source of your statistic or at least have it on hand if someone asks you. So you might start with, according to the Australian Journal of Chinese Medicine, 7 out of 10, or according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, 7 out of 10 infertile couples have managed to conceive. So when you start with that, it gives credibility. Starting with the statistic gives credibility and it gives confidence that this is going to work, because they know there's fact to it. But it also shows that, remember, that's like that who else wants to, because if most of the couples there are infertile or knows someone that's infertile, that's very engaging to them to say, well, this treatment factually has helped 7 out of 10 infertile couples. Okay, so you've got to make sure that your facts are strong though, but you can see how that has impact as well. Okay, here's another spin on it. Okay, so a lot of the talks that we do, involves showing patients acupressure points. So that's something I suggest you do as well, because it's very, very engaging to get them locating acupressure points on their body and doing like a self-help preventative care kind of seminar. So for lower back pain, arthritis, we'll show them points like kidney 3. We'll show them points like small intestine 3 to open up the governing vessel. If you're a physio, you could show them some stretches, get them active. If you're a naturopath, you know, you can be demonstrating and handing out samples of teas for them to try. I'll have a little thing where we actually do pour them samples of teas, and they can you know, enjoy the tea as you're explaining the benefits of them. It's very actual. They'll feel the warmth of it, and they know that as I'm drinking this, I'm being explained to how it's actually affecting me. So you can see the level of engagement and the creativity that you can have as well. So this one, think of this one. This is another powerful introduction, and again, you can use these. So again, this is the first thing you say. What if I were to show you 3 acupressure points that you can use in any situation to stop your hay fever in its tracks? Now, you can substitute hay fever with anything you like, whatever your target is. What if I were to show you 3 acupressure points that you can use yourself in any situation to stop your travel sickness in its tracks, to stop your back pain in its tracks, to stop your nervousness in its tracks? Okay, so all those kind of things, you can just do that. But the engagement, what if I were to show you 3 acupressure? So you're actually making that promise. I'm going to show you 3 points that will really help you today. So by the end of this talk, you'll get a really good result. Okay, so after I use that introduction, people will go, again, the more confident people in the audience will go, oh yeah, absolutely, what are they? So that gives it sets up a really good energy for the rest of your talk. Okay, so similar things, a couple more examples. This is a question, okay? So the first one was, what if I were to tell you? But this is an actual question for engagement, okay? Who would like to learn just 2 acupressure points that you can use in any situation to settle your travel sickness? So we're asking that, who would like to learn? So basically, most people will put up their hand, okay? Some people won't, but most of them will go, oh yes, that'd be great. Okay, so it's already creating an energy for your talk. So again, think back to the first thing I said. Oh, hi, this is Hamish Reid. Acupuncture is a 2,000-year-old written history. Well, most people don't care about that until you tell them something like this. By the end of today, I'm going to show you these points that will stop your travel sickness. And then they'll say, well, that's great. Tell me more. And that's when you can introduce yourself and do all those things. So that's my question to you. So I'm here with you to share with you a method. You know, you can use all those headline ones that we went through in the first module for your introduction. Who else wants to do this? Here's how to do this. Here's a method that's helping people, blah, blah, blah. You can just tailor it to your introduction. Who wants to know a secret to doing this, to getting more energy? So that's my question to you. Which of these introductions do you think have a better impact? Obviously, the first few. After that first introduction. And now, especially that one I read to you with a question. So it's really important to start with a question, start with a quote, start with a story. We're going to go through those right now. But this is my point, people, is always open with something that will spark the interest of your listeners and surprise them. Because as I mentioned, like you go do a talk at a sports club or a gym or something like that, they're not going to be sitting there waiting for you to blow them away. They're going to be on their smartphones. They're going to be maybe on the phone to their partner. They'll be texting their friends. They'll be updating their Facebook profile. They'll be on Twitter. They'll be checking their emails. So you've got to have something that's going to be more interesting to them than what, because Facebook and that can be pretty addictive, let's face it. So can texting if you're in a conversation with someone. Looking up the internet, whatever it is. So you've got to say your introduction has to trump all of that, okay? Spark it up, make them sit bolt upright and put away what they're doing. Switch their phones to airplane mode straight away. Starting out with a joke. Now, a lot of people, I want to talk about that for a tick because a lot of people say, oh, you know, you should always start your speech with a joke. And that's absolutely fine, where the tone you want to set is one of humor. And you're not trying to set that tone on a talk to promote your practice. So please don't start with a joke. You can incorporate little one-liners into your, relevant to what you're doing, relevant to your topic to engage people and make them laugh a little bit, but don't start out purposely with a joke. That's what we do at weddings and 21st and things where it's humor. You're the authority here. You're pitching yourself as the authority in your industry and you're the go-to medical practitioner People don't want to hear a medical practitioner start with a joke. Set the tone of professionalism, solution-based marketing as well. That's my advice. So these are my tips to, we talked about a couple of introductions, or a few introductions. And like I said, please feel free to use those and substitute your niche in with those as a bit of a template. But these are some tips to really hook your audience with your introduction. Okay, so you can take down some more notes as I'm doing these. Opening with a question. So whatever your niche is, you can open with, what if I were to tell you that blah, 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 or how many of you did this, or all these kind of things. When you ask with a question, open with a question, people have to think and people have to relate to it. People have to answer you as well, which makes them drop what they're doing and concentrate on you and start contemplating some stuff as well. Would you like to know 3 acupuncture points that will do this? Would you like to know why your sciatica gets worse in windy weather? Would you like to know why your migraines get worse when you have a coffee? Would you like to know why sometimes a coffee will improve your headache? Those kind of things. Would you like to know why your lower back pain gets worse when you walk on cold floors? All those kind of things build engagement. Okay, would you like to know why your back pain's worse in the afternoon or evening? Can we talk about, like in acupuncture terms, kidney yin deficiency or all that kind of thing? So that gets maximum engagement. Another question, how would you feel if something other? So again, how would you feel if you had to miss out on any more important events and let your family down because of your back pain? How would you feel if you had to be carried off the field again because of your hamstring strain or your Achilles tendon strain? How would you feel? Well, how would you feel if you had to stutter through another public speech again, walking off stage knowing that you might have bombed it? Okay, these are all very engaging questions. What if I were to tell you something or other? Why do you think, whatever it is, okay, why do you think your sciatica gets worse in windy weather? Why do you think physios recommend cold rather than heat? Why do you think heat, whatever it is, I'm sure you can sort of think of. So opening with a question is really, really important. What I love to do is this one, open with a story. Excuse me. And why I love doing that, I love stories and I love children's stories. I mean, the first thing that I mentioned in Turbocharge Your Practice was my favorite story, which is the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. And I started with that story. And I love telling stories, especially stories that are relevant to my talk, which that one was. But everyone loves a story, because what was one of the happiest times when you were a kid was when your parents read you a story and tucked you up in bed, or even at school. One of most people's favorite times is story time after recess or lunchtime, where you sit in a circle and the teacher pulls out a book and you know it's just going to be cool to hear a story. So it takes them back to a very emotionally and psychologically warm and happy place, because people love stories. Okay, remember, we're selling the feeling. We're selling an emotion. So that's that. When you think back to when you were little, when you used to get stories read to you, what feeling does that conjure up in you? It's security, it's love. It's being all nice and snuggled in a warm bed or a warm room. Okay, and hearing your mum or your dad's or your uncle's voice or auntie's voice really, really nice and soothing for you. So that's why I love starting with a story. And what I really love is when you do talks like this at retirement villages, when you see people that are 70, 80, 90 years old, it's actually really, really rewarding, and it really sort of makes my heart, heart sing to start with a story, and you see the change in their energy. Because if you think about it, when would have been the last time where they remembered someone reading them a story or telling them a story? So it takes them back quite a long way when you open with a story. And you can say, I'd like to start with a story. I'd like to share with you my favorite story. Or I'd like to start with story time. Or you can just launch into the story, but you just see the change in their energy, the sparkle in their eyes. You know, they light up, they sit up straight, and it's going to be really, really engaging for you. So opening with a story, there's so many stories that we can use in TCM, especially, or health stories in naturopathy. You can conjure up anyone you want. I'm using TCM as an example here because, as you know, and Sahel and I love talking about this, the acupuncture pointers are so beautiful in what they can do, in their functions, in their Chinese names, in their story. The story is how each point developed the stories of their energy at that point. So I'll give you an example, and again, to start with the example, I'm going to go back to the first thing I say. Now, I want you to picture this. I'm doing a talk about increasing your energy levels. So I can start with the same thing I did, which was the really boring one. Good morning, my name's Hamish Reid. I'm from Reid Health, blah, blah. Even if I'd said, good morning, I'm Hamish from Reid Health. Really good to be here. I'm going to talk to you today about how acupuncture can help increase your energy levels. Or I'm going to show you 3 acupuncture points that will help with your energy levels. Think of if I started with a story and said this, and this is the first thing I say. Once upon a time, 2,000 years ago, a weary old man sat under a shady oak tree. His legs were aching from the miles and miles he walked from the last town. He eases off his worn, ripped shoe as the tiredness takes hold. But he has to keep up to the pace. He has to keep up the pace in order to reach his destination. But is he worried? No, not a bit. As he's wise enough to know just one acupressure point that when stimulated will give him the energy to walk an extra 3 miles. And this is that point. And then I cue the PowerPoint and the point would come out. Now, obviously, as you know, how cool is that to start with a story? You're doing a public speech on increasing people's energy, and you start with a story like that. Now, of course, you'd know that the point I'm talking about is stomach 36 in acupuncture terms. Remember, Zhu Sun Li, 3-leg mole. And then I'd launch into this. But can you see how I just turned that into a story? And in that story, I've given them quite a bit of information. So once upon a time, when you start with once upon a time, that's probably one of the most powerful ways you can ever start a speech. Because that means that you're going to tell a story. And what starts with once upon a time? Nursery rhymes, fairy tales, things that people love, and take them back to that place in their life. So the moment you get up there and you say, once upon a time, you watch the change in people's energy. But I'm telling them 2,000 years ago, so I'm already telling them that first thing, that acupuncture has a 2,000-year-old written history, but it's in a lot nicer, it's a lot more engaging way. A weary old man sat under an oak tree. So I'm painting that picture. He has to keep up the pace in order to reach his destination. But is he worried? No, he knows one acupressure point that when stimulated will give him the energy to walk an extra 3 miles. Then I can cue that PowerPoint and talk about Zhu Sun Li. So Zhu, Sun is, 3, and Li was a measure of distance in, Zhu is leg, Li is a measure of distance in Chinese, worked out to about 1/3 of a mile. But this is all fascinating for your target market. And by stimulating this point, I could talk about the stomach and how it goes deficient. And excuse me, by stimulating this point, it gives the patient the energy to walk an extra 3 miles. Now, these people are coming for boosting energy, and they'll automatically start trying to learn or start trying to feel that point in themselves. So you can show it to them straight away. So you got maximum engagement. So it's a great way to start that sort of story, and people will be glued on your every word after that. So you can start like that once upon a time. Here's a way of starting with the same story, but slightly different. So you can say once upon a time, or you can say something like this. The very first thing you say, remember, I want you to close your eyes and take yourself back 2,000 years. So again, you're almost starting with a semi-meditative approach, but guess what? It's engaging, because anyone that's looking around, anyone's looking at their iPhone, if you give them an instruction, I want you to close the very first thing you say, remember, I want you to close your eyes and take yourself back 2,000 years. The setting is ancient China. A weary man sits under a shady oak tree. And then you can go back to that story, but then you're getting them visualizing that. So they're really relating to it. Okay, so it's a very powerful, you can see how powerful, how important it is to give a powerful speech. So you can start with a fact, you can start with a story, which is one of my favorite ways to do it. You can start with a quote. Now remember, we said, like, you know, 7 out of 10 people here. So it can be a shocking quote. It can be just a general quote. It gives credibility and it inspires people. Now, I'll tell you a bit of a left field, because it's all about starting differently. So I'll tell you a bit of a left field quote that that I did once, and it's pretty funny because obviously it's Chinese medicine. You know, I'm talking about how acupuncture. This was to a retirement village again, because we did that stint quite a lot. And the very first thing before I started talking, I put that up on the the PowerPoint. That's the very first thing I walked up on stage. That's the very first thing they saw. And then I just said, the very first thing I said was, tong ze butong, butong ze tong. And then I paused. And then everyone just started laughing because it was so unexpected. I'm here giving an talk about how they can relieve their arthritis or their sports injuries or whatever it is. And then I come up and start talking Chinese. So you can see the impact that we have. Now to translate, and obviously after that, I said tong ze butong, butong ze tong. And then after that, I said this: where there is free flow, there is no pain. Where there is pain, there is no free flow. So that's what that means, obviously. But you can just see the difference there. That just made them stop. And it did. No, that was one of the ways I started with humor. But as you can see, I didn't intend to start with a joke. This is factual stuff. And this sets the tone for my presence. I didn't say, oh, did you hear about the acupuncturist that blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is a very credible sort of quote. And then I'll go on to say that this to me is like the epitome of Chinese medicine and just a beautiful description and the most simplest form about how Chinese medicine and how acupuncture flow and the meridian works. Where there is free flow, there is no pain. Where there is pain, there is no free flow, pain of stagnation. And then I can go into explaining that. But the fact is I started with something that was engaging. And there's no free flow. So I really like that quote. So start with a quote, any kind of quote you like, but just have the source for it. Start with a statistic, same thing. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, according to the Journal of Chinese Medicine, according to whatever source that you can have it. According to Giovanni Maciocci's, the Foundation of Chinese Medicine, according to Kumar and Clark's Clinical Medicine Manual, whatever it is, okay? Statistics are credible and factual and accountable and safe. So people know that they're sort of, they're almost protected. It's a secure sort of thing, a secure environment for them to be in. And what's more is that they know that things are going to work. So Sahel mentioned in his first module that there's all those different types of people, the different personality types, the different ways of doing things, the people that like facts, the people that like dream time, the stories and taking them back to a place, the creative people. So try and put a bit of everything for everyone in that talk. Okay, because otherwise you're only going to be marketing to one. So you can start with a story. That's going to engage everyone. And then throw some facts in after that. Okay, it's going to be really engaging for everyone. So things like, 7 out of 10 people. Did you know that 80% of arthritis sufferers do whatever quote that you can find, okay? So statistics, quotes, starting with a story, starting with a fact. This one's pretty good. So this next one is start with a startling statement. Something that shocks your audience. This requires you to get a little bit more out of the comfort zone. Okay, so start with a startling statement. So to make your target market sit bolt upright, put away their iPhones, give you their full concentration. So again, I like doing this too. You've got to pick your market for it, but it does get you out of your comfort zone. So let's try now. Again, this is the very first thing you say. What if you said something like this? 30% of people in this room will die from a heart attack before they turn 60, unless you take some important health steps, which I'm going to share with you today. Okay, so that's quite a startling statement. Now, you've got to be careful that you're not promising them that they won't have a heart attack, but we're saying 30% of people in this room will die from a heart attack before they turn 60. That's the statistic, but what you're showing is some important steps that if you do these, this is going to help you reduce that statistic. Okay, maybe you're doing a talk to a group of people that suffer from infertility. So this is another startling statement or another way of getting good engagement. You can start with this kind of thing. The harsh reality is that 30% of you in the audience here today may not achieve your dream of having a family. Well, ladies and gents, I'm here to try and help you prove those figures wrong. So that's a good engaging start as well. Because they know that. They've read the statistics. They know they're infertile. So 30% of people might be infertile. So the fact is 30% of these people in the audience, they may not achieve their dream of having a family. Now, that's before they hear your talk and they hear your solutions to fertility about tonifying the kidneys and the spleen and the REN mind, giving them acupressure points and moxa and things like that, and getting them on a course of treatment with you. So I'm here to try and help you prove these figures wrong. Starting with those kind of things, like I said, maximum engagement. Another way to start, we can start with a personal anecdote. We can start with a personal experience. Now, it's important not to give a testimonial here. So don't talk about a patient that you treated that had arthritis that you treated with, you fixed within 5 treatments, because that's a big no-no. But you can talk about things like reasons why you got into your field. A success story, but keep it very, very loose. But use these things. I mean, I love those stories about how people actually got into those fields. I'm going to take you back to 2006 where this happened, or whatever it is. Okay, you can start with an expert opinion in your introduction. So it can be your opinion, it can be an opinion of authority, it can be an opinion of credibility. So this goes back to what we were talking about with the quotes. Always source the person that you have that the quote from, or the expert opinion as well. This is the other thing I love doing, starting with a physical object or a visual aid. We have such cool stuff to display. We've got cups, we've got needles, we've got Moxa, we've got electro machines, we've got creams, we've got stretching bands, we've got liniments, we've got heat patches, we've got naturopathic teas, we've got bottles. The list goes on and on and on and on. We've got some really cool stuff that people want to see. Even before the talk, you know, I might have all this stuff displayed on the table. And this is another good thing. People will come up to the table beforehand and have a little look, and it gives you the opportunity to actually talk to them and qualify them a little bit before your talk, and also get to know them so that you're not as nervous when you go out there, because you've already met and talked to quite a few people. So start with these. You can come up holding a cup, holding a couple of cups, holding a Moxa stick, holding a laser, holding electro. This is one thing I actually did, where I walked out holding a machine. Like I walked out holding my electro. I had a picture of it on the PowerPoint, but I actually walked out holding the machine. And I said, this is the machine that's going to help you reduce your arthritis. Okay, so that's the very first thing I said, starting with a bold statement. I held up the machine. Ladies and gents, this is the machine that's going to help reduce your arthritis. This is the machine that's going to help you or going to prevent you from missing out on an important occasion, letting your spouse and your children down. So it's a nice visual aid. Walk out, yeah, like I said, cups, Moxa sticks, all of that kind of thing. You can walk out with a Moxa stick or something like that, and the first thing he says, no, it's not a cigarette. This is actually going to really help with your back pain, or something like. And then everyone will laugh, and then you can start explaining what it is and have good, good engagement, good visuals. You can pass them around. Like I'll pass a Moxa stick around, get people to have a smell, have a feel. Might pass a glass cup around and explain how it works. When they're touching and feeling what can potentially be healing them, that's very powerful as well. Just a few more things. Don't start with a sound effect. That's pretty obvious. Now let's talk about your conclusion, your ending. Okay, so this is also really important. But you can see how important your primacy is, your introduction. But one of the biggest letdowns by speakers is not having a really strong conclusion. Okay, and that lead, you can start really well, you can have really good body, but then if you don't conclude strongly, you don't want people to be going, oh, it's finished. Oh, okay, thanks for that. What do we do now? Do we get up and leave? You haven't given them a call to action. You haven't given a strong conclusion. So they don't leave on a high like they started with. So this is the thing that audience shouldn't really be too surprised that you're ending. So you can say something like, I'd like to conclude with this. I'd like to conclude with this statement. I'd like to conclude with this quote. I'd like to leave you with this. I'd like to leave you with this thought. And then say that thought, and then, so all your call to action and your pitching, like, for those people who would like to book in today, I'd like to offer you this. For the first 20 people that book in, I'd like to offer you this. You say all that before you conclude. You don't want to finish with a sharp conclusion. You go, oh, by the way, if you'd like to book in today, you say all that beforehand. Okay, for those people that would like to make an appointment today, we'd like to offer you this, or we add value, whatever your call to action is. We've talked about that enough, okay? But then after that, you say, now I'd like to conclude with this. I'd like to conclude with this statement. I'd like to give you this to think about, okay? So it rings in their head, and a good thing to do would be to get them thinking about something in your conclusion. So after the talk, the main thing they want to do is come up and speak to you or make an appointment. So a short, but a powerful conclusion. So you can logically, obviously, conclude with the ideas that you developed in your speech, reiterate your introduction, reiterate your call to action. What will you do for them if they book in today? Remember, you want to go away having a book full of bookings. Okay, what are the lessons learned from your talk? What are some further recommendations, lineaments? What are the next steps they have to do? Okay. Now, this is the problem, the call to action, and I want to share with you a story why this is so important to me, because the very first talk I did at a retirement village, and I still to this day, now this is probably about, what, 8 years ago, when I started doing talks at retirement village, probably even 10 actually, but I still remember it to this day because it was the biggest mistake I've ever made public speaking, which was not having a strong call to action. So I'll give you that. I did a really good bio to the manager at the retirement village in Burwood East. She called me to say, let's come and have a chat. I did a really good presentation to her about my talk. I was talking about pain management, acupressure points, all of that kind of thing. And she had organized 50 people. She goes, you can do your talk during morning tea, so you'll get the most number of people there. And this is it's amazing, because what happened was that I did do a really good talk, and I did provide solutions to people's problems, and I did a demonstration at the end. And then when I finished, but I had my business cards and brochures, and I said, okay, well that's it, guys. Look, thanks so much for coming. Look, I've got some brochures on the table. So yeah, give them, you know, you can take them. There's some business cards. Give me a call if you'd like to come in for treatment. And even saying that now, I feel so embarrassed. It was such a sort of a lame way to finish. But that's how I thought you did it then. I didn't know the techniques of public speaking and calls to action. So that's what I did. Now, to my credit, I mean, a lot of people took the business cards. I actually had a door prize as well for engagement, and the door prize was a free treatment. So the manager drew it out of a hat and gave a free treatment. And I had lots of business cards, lots of brochures on the table. And look, it was really good after I finished my lame conclusion. And I said, look, take a business card, take a brochure, and give us a call if you want an appointment. And then there were probably about 30 people that came up and took business cards and things like that. And that was fantastic, because I was really excited. And then one of the ladies that she took a business card, she goes, oh, you're going to be a busy boy, aren't you? And I said, well, that's the plan. That's what I love to do. So I felt really good. And I was driving home, and I rang my brother, because at the time my brother was marketing manager for McDonald's. So he was, you know, he's a really good marketer. And I rang him because I was so excited, because he had helped me sort of craft it. And he goes, oh, how'd you guys? And mate, awesome. Thanks so much. He goes, how many bookings do you get? And I said, well, they took business cards and stuff. And he goes, yeah, but how many bookings do you get now, like on the spot? I said, well, what, none? He goes, what are you talking about? What was your call to action? And I said, my what? And he's called to action. Now, I felt so, he said, you're an idiot, mate. You've spent all that time to 50 people, you didn't have a call to action. You're not going to get any bookings. And I said, yes, I am. So many people took those cards. He goes, no, you're not. Trust me. You didn't have a call to action. Well, do you know what? Do you know how many bookings I got? I got one booking. But that one booking was the person that got the free door prize of a free treatment. So I saw her, and I saw her for about a year, because at least I got the opportunity to market to her and present my case to her. But I did, like I said, to this day, call to action. So I developed a call to action. Then when Sahal and I started doing more talks at the retirement village, we had a good call to action. So whatever you want it to be. For those people that would like to book today, we'd like to offer a free neck and shoulder massage with every treatment. We'd like to offer a free heat pack. We'd like to offer free stretching classes. We'd like to offer 50%, or you would like to offer your initial consultation free, whatever it is. Or we'd like to offer you a free tongue and pulse diagnosis. So the next time, so I had 50 people in that talk, and I got no one from it, because we're not counting the person with the free voucher. The next talk that we did, Sahal did this one with me. If you remember, Sahal, I think we had 16 people only in that talk. And we thought, oh, geez. We had 16 people, but we had a good call to action. So do you know how many bookings? We got 13 bookings out of 16 people. 13 bookings twice a week, 26 bookings a week for the first, over and above what we were already doing for the first little while, and then we spanned them out. Every single talk we did after that, we got probably about a 50% retention rate from that. we get 20, 30 bookings because we had a strong call to action. So the audience needs to be told what to do. If you want to book today, this is what you'll get. This is the promise I'm making to you. You can give them your USP. Hopefully you've all crafted your USP. So use that in your conclusion. Use that in your offer. Okay, so short and powerful conclusion with a call to action. Thank the audience for attending. That's a no-brainer. Now, what I think you should do is invite the audience to ask questions or open up a bit of discussion, because that's full engagement, and that gives you the opportunity to, within that group, but individually address people's concerns. Because someone might say, well, I've got this, and how do you go about treating this? Or how does this differ? So the, most people, or there'll be a number of other people in that room with the same question or the same kind of problem. So if you're answering that person's question, you're obviously answering it for a number of people. So it's maximum engagement. And then when they can ask questions and you can answer them, again, you're the authority. Okay, you put yourself in this superior position compared to your audience, and you'll be considered as the expert. They're surely going to think of you the expert at that stage, believe me, because you're the one that got out of your comfort zone and came and told them that you're the person for them to see. Now, you've got to be pretty prepared intellectually, psychologically, to give control to that audience and be able to answer any questions. Like I said, Sahal and I always say, your knowledge has to be good at what you do. But don't forget, you're talking to the layperson here. They're not going to be asking you complex Chinese medicine questions. They're going to be fairly simple questions. So they're questions that you should be able to answer given your knowledge of your craft. TCM, naturopathy, physio, osteo, chiro, medicine even. So just put yourself in that and just make sure your product knowledge is good. Okay, now your conclusion, like I said, has to include your call to action. Remember, this is the whole point of the seminar. You're not going to go spend an hour of your time and all that prep time and time meeting the manager and that kind of thing, just to say, well, if you want an appointment, I'm around. Okay, those people that don't book in with you on the day, they must fill out their registration form so they can go on your autoresponder. So you get the opportunity to market and send your emails to them. They can unsubscribe if it's no longer providing that solution, but if the content is good enough, it will. So what we suggest, like I said, with our turbocharge, we have a registration seat. So when people come in, you get them to write their name and their email address. Now, obviously, retirement village people, not a lot of them or not all of them use internet. So you need to have another way. They can write down their address so that you can actually send them some information and send them. So everything you email out or your autoresponder, make a hard copy of it and personally mail it out to the people that don't have the autoresponder or don't have an email address as well. But that's the whole point of the seminar. You either want people booked in or you want people on your autoresponder. So their group you email to after that, and their potential clients, that they'll remember you as the authority. So when they have something go wrong, they'll come to you straight away. But remember the 90-day rule. Every 90 days, you've got to be keeping in contact with them. Okay. So the other thing I like to do is to conclude with engagement. So ask a couple of leading questions. So after you give your special offer and before you leave them with that, your conclusion ringing in their ears, I'd like to leave you with this quote. I'd like to leave you with this thought. You should be asking them a couple of questions, qualifying questions. So after you do your talk, it may be a question like, okay, so who feels more empowered about managing their Sciatica now? So this will give maximum engagement, and it also gets you qualifying your prospects. So after your talk, if you say, who feels more empowered about managing their Sciatica now? Every hand in that room should go up, which is great engagement and great. It tells you straight away before you even do your conclusion, and it answers your question as to how many people might be coming up to you either to ask questions or to book in for an appointment if they feel more empowered about managing. Now, a bit more of a bold question you can ask to actually literally see how many people are pretty much going to book in is this. You can say, I've said this. So who feels more inspired about having acupuncture treatment for your migraines? Okay, so notice the question there. The first one is who feels more empowered about managing their sciatica now, but the second is who feels inspired about actually having acupuncture treatment for your migraines? So what I'm basically asking is, who's going to be booking in with me? If they feel inspired, remember, if they feel inspired about having acupuncture, they're going to have it. If you're inspired to do something, you're going to do it. So if 18 hands go up, I literally know that I might have 18 potential patients that'll book in that day. Some will come up and start booking in straight away, but out of those 18, there might be about 5 or 6 that might want to ask a couple more questions of you, which is great because you get to talk to them personally. So you're qualifying your prospects. That'll give you a confident feeling too, because you know you're either walking away with a really good list of prospects on your autoresponder, or you're walking away with 10, 15, 20 bookings in your diary for that week over and above what you're actually doing. And don't forget, if you're going to be doing that talk on a Monday, then going to another retirement village to do the same talk on a Thursday, you're doing 2 talks that week, which means that you can, get a whole lot of potential clients for that. Okay, now just in the last sort of 5 minutes or so, I just wanted to talk about some further tips, and we'll run through. These are pretty straightforward, but I'd like to just identify them anyway with you. So when you're talking, and you, like I said, you've got to be careful about not giving testimonials, preparing yourself for questions you might get asked, making sure your knowledge is up to scratch. That's a bit of a given. Be careful not to cross that line into perceived advertising with your things. It is tempting up there to say, if you're trying to market and that, I had a patient who came to me and within 3 treatments with their liver yang rising migraine, they were fixed, and now I see them on a monthly basis. But it's not ethical to do that, as we know, so we can't. We have to use words like may help this or has been shown to help that, unless you've got a statistic that you can quote. 8 out of 10 people, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the main thing of your talks is to be a resource to people, be the go-to practitioner, the person that they can call or email when they have something that needs answering. Without even thinking about who they should see, they automatically go to you. Okay, teach them something new. Obviously, that's a given on how to manage their condition, and leave them wanting more. That's really important. So they do come and talk to you after. So they do book in with you. Make sure you bring all your marketing materials and your business card so they can find you later if they need to. But that's the beauty of the autoresponder, okay? What you can do is, after getting on the autoresponder, you're sending them all that stuff. So even if they do lose your business card, they're getting constant communication from you. Okay? Even if you want to call people the week after the talk, I've done that too, and it's great. It's almost like reactivating. So they've been to the talk, but they may not have booked in, but you can still give them a call to see if they've still been pressing the acupressure points that you told them for their back pain or their tenosynovitis or their carpal tunnel, and has it been helping them? And then that gives you the chance. Then they might ask you a couple of other questions. I've done that before too. They haven't booked into a talk, but I've rung them to ask how they're going. If they're still stretching, and they're still pressing the points and everything like that, and then they've asked me a few leading questions or a few extra questions, and I've ended up getting them in for an appointment, because they then see that that's what they actually need. Another little tip, get to know your audience. So remember how I said when you come up, you might be nervous because we don't know these people? Well, the best thing to do is to get to know them beforehand. So it's a really good idea to mingle before the talk. So by getting to know them, so we get nervous when we're speaking in front of a group of strangers, but if we were to give that same speech in front of friends or people we know, we don't really get that fearful, do we? So this is the trick, mingle. Try mingling with a few people in the audience before starting out your speech. So come early, come half an hour early, set up. When the first few people start coming in, go up, shake their hand, introduce yourself to them, have a quick chat to them. Do that to everyone you can. And then when you come up on stage, there might be 15 people out of 30 that you've met and had a little bit of a chat to, and they're the ones you focus on, and they're the ones you'll feel the connection with. And they're the ones that are going to be smiling at you, and you're smiling back at them because you know them already. You know their names. You've felt their energy. So, and you know they're the ones that are really wanting you to succeed because they know you on a personal level now. So apart from relaxing your tension, this is also going to help with improving your connection with these people as well. One thing is just prepare to succeed, guys. Remember, be prepared. Give yourself permission to do it. Okay, that's what you may or may not be aware of. That the most important thing you need to do to become a great public speaker is to give yourself permission to do it. Okay, so try it. I mean, do it with real feeling, do it with honest intent, and tell yourself, I give myself permission to be a good public speaker. That's the thing that's going to start changing your subconscious as well. And again, tell yourself all the amazing benefits and all the added confidence that that's going to come with being able to speak like a pro and be able to be an authority at speaking in your industry. There's so many benefits, guys. Benefits like having more confidence, benefits like making a greater impression at job interviews, better presentations even at your clinic or at your work, wowing your employers, which will put you on the line for a better promotion and things like that, you know. Even just being more confident to start conversations at parties or networking events is going to change your professional life and your personal life considerably. And look, let's face it, you know, society loves the confident person. Remember the gallbladder in TCM. If you've got a big gallbladder, you're courageous, you're not easily discouraged, you're a go-getter. If you've got a small gallbladder, you're more timid and shy and you're easily discouraged. Now, not talking about introversion or extroversion, because they're a different thing and they're perfectly, either one of those perfectly okay, but society tends to value people that are sure of themselves. They like the icebreaker, the conversationalist, the person that has goals and dreams and that kind of thing. So with all these benefits, that it's you know, it's really time you made it happen. A couple more things, guys, to say it properly. So part of that good preparation, double checking the pronunciation of any tricky words. So, you know, all the anatomical things, the fibula and all that kind of thing, you know, make sure the worst thing you can do, especially to a layperson, if you mispronounce a word and then someone has to correct you in the audience. So that will sort of kill the talk a little bit for you. Swapping anxiety for confidence, we talked about that. Okay, every presenter experiences anxiety. Sahal and I do. We pump ourselves up. We swap that nervousness for confidence. Most of our nervousness, we must admit, is from absolute excitement because we love doing this so much. But just know that, you know, the audience hardly notices your nervousness as long as you can just stand up straight and talk nice and loud, because your audience wants you to succeed. They want to be enlightened on your area of expertise. They want you to lead them through the material, and most importantly, they want a solution. Posture, obviously, this is all pretty easy stuff. Stand up straight. Don't stand in the one spot, okay? Walk around, but don't walk around too much. What I like to do is that I'll stand up straight, I'll stay in the one spot. I might, if I'm changing topics, if I'm changing concepts, so I might talk something about stand in the one spot, talk about something for, you know, 5 minutes or a couple of minutes, and then as I'm changing slightly the topic, I might just walk over to another section of the room to address some of the people there, to be nearer. So that's the kind of thing you've got to work out yourselves, but keep moving. Don't stand in the one spot, but don't move around too much, okay? So act naturally. Gestures, use your hands, which add interest, and you can't see me now, but I've been using my hands so much to present today to you, because I'm so passionate about this that you know, my hands are always moving when I'm talking to you. Making eye contact, very essential. Make the people feel that you're talking to them. Give them that attention and that airtime. And like I mentioned, ask questions to your audience as well. More engagement. You can check that they understand the main concepts. You can build the connection with them as well. Build curiosity. Show your passion, okay? That's a given. You're going to be talking about stuff that you're passionate about anyway. So that's a no-brainer. Again, these are pretty intuitive, but it's just nice to keep them in your subconscious. Show them that you're happy to be there. You are happy to be there, so make it known, okay? Make yourself heard. Volume's really important, okay? You've got to project to the back of the room unless you've got a microphone. Speaking slowly and deliberately, okay? Sahal and I can sometimes speak fast, especially Sahal. It's because we get excited and we got a lot of information we want to get out, but it's important to enunciate properly. Don't be too monotone either. No one likes to hear from a bit of a robot. We're all guilty about this. I'm guilty of this, using filler words, like, you know, it's like, okay, so try to, a pause is always better than using a filler, okay? So there's nothing wrong with a pause. You might have heard that phrase, the power of a pause. Pauses have really good power in them. They let people think about your concepts. So use lots of pauses rather than the ums and ahs those kind of things. PowerPoint slides, body area models. I talked about this. Use your props because we've got such awesome props in the healthcare industry. That's going to make your presentation much more enjoyable for you and your audience because it breaks up your talk as well. It's a little bit more casual. Give some demonstrations and things like that. Get some testimonials, okay? Written testimonials, video testimonials. There is nothing wrong with handing out a form at the end saying, how did I do? Did I give you a solution to your problem? Are you more inspired about having acupuncture? So get some of these things. Sahal and I always ask for written testimonials. We ask for video testimonials for those that like to give them. And these are the things you can use in your bio for marketing your talk to the gatekeeper, okay? And lastly, guys, just make your first impressions count, okay? That's the important thing. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So before you even begin to present, your audience is going to base their first impressions on your appearance, on the first thing you say. So dress appropriately, make it count. Be nice and neat. Be early, be clean, be professional, be comfortable, and be confident. Know your stuff. The most important thing is to take the first step. Okay, so we've gone through quite a lot of stuff in a couple of hours, but I'd really like you to take this on board and start trying to organize some public speaking events. Everything we've learned in these 6 modules, the mindset, the headlines, the Facebook, the email marketing, this all in some way relates to your public speaking. And like I said, we're here to help you guys. We've got your back in this. It doesn't stop here. We want to be able to help you. We really like and appreciate the questions you give us on the mastery program and things like that. We love helping you with those, and we really love seeing you grow. And we love the emails that are coming in, and the posts on Facebook from those of you that said you've really increased your patient numbers. Some of you have started taking on staff now, which is phenomenal. Some of you are just going from a few patients a week to 15, 20, 30, 40. And this is all while we're going through the module. So you can imagine, and those of you that are watching, going to watch the recordings, you can just see the potential. Just keep watching them over and over again. They're yours to keep. So once again, guys, I want to say a really big, as we conclude, a really big thank you to you guys. Sahal and I have really loved doing this. This is what we absolutely love to do. Help practitioners be better practitioners, help them be more confident, and help them just build their practice, their dreams. So I'm going to have a look at your questions and tick. But again, on behalf of Sahal and I just want to say a really big thank you to you guys for going out of your comfort zone and taking this on and getting the results from it. We couldn't be prouder of you guys. So we really do appreciate that. I'm going to have a look at a few questions here. There's just a few. Kind of, so good morning, we're looking forward to this one, fantastic. A couple of people wanting a copy of the book, which is fantastic. I think that's, looks like about all I've sort of got. I'm just, sorry, I'll have a look there. Yeah, for some reason, there may have been more questions, but they're not coming up. That's okay. Look, if you've got a question which hasn't come up on this chat box, just if you do, if I just email it to me and I'll be happy to answer it for you. There's only just a couple there. So I think one person said, if I do a talk and I can just see the bottom of that. If I do a talk and they just stare, what do I actually do? If they just stare, what do you do? Well, that's when you just launch straight into it. Now, I don't think anyone's going to just stare if you give a really good introduction, like we were talking about, to make your point at the start. Really good introduction, make them sit bolt upright. I'm sure after that, you might have asked that question before the examples that I gave. So again, we're here to help you. Please come up with your introductions, send them to me. We'll work through them together and we'll make sure you've got the perfect introduction so that will never happen to you. So guys, once again, thank you again. Good luck. Keep in touch. Keep all your posts coming on the Facebook page. Keep your emails coming in. Still happy to help with headlines and things like that, with your autoresponders, websites, public speaking, anything you need. So I'll sign out now. Hope you have a really great week, guys, and good luck. We'll speak soon.